Roland Martin is melting down a little bit because he is upset. And he's upset because Target has reneged on their promise that they made during the George Floyd protest to the Black community. Now, I do have a moral to this story, and I'm going to tell you what we should be doing instead, because I don't think that we should put our trust in corporations, regardless what race you are. I don't think you should trust corporations to come through for you and your community. Let's get into this conversation here, ladies and gentlemen. He is not happy, and he's venting here with Nina Turner.
Leading this boycott is the group that's going to be negotiating with Target.
That's right. That's right, Ro. And certainly big ups to you and Unfiltered for getting that message out there. There's a confluence, and there is something to be said about universal thought. When Target made this announcement on January the 24th,
who are boycotting. There are people who watch this show and who are like, yo, we're down with it. People who are listing other places as well. And the reality is we're seeing what happens when collective action happens. On Friday, there was a meeting. Target CEO was there with Reverend Al Sharpton. Jamal Bryant was there in New York. A couple other folks were in that meeting as well. And I understand that he's been meeting with other Black civil rights organizations. They have not publicly stated that they have been meeting with them. But the point that he made there is critically important. The group that's leading this boycott is the group that's going to be negotiating with Target.
That's right. That's right, Ro.
Let me explain what's happening here. You guys remember there was the Target boycott that was started after Target decided to reverse their policies on DEI, right? So there was that boycott that was started and people said, like, listen, Black people, we're not going to shop at Target, right? And my thing to that was, we should be directing Black people to support other Black businesses, right? Like that was my whole thing with that. Well, I guess what Roland thought was going to happen is that since that boycott, that Target would come back to the table and say, okay, you know what? We made a promise to you. We messed up. We're going to go back and make some changes. But that didn't happen. And so now Pastor Jamal Bryant, also known for those of you who watch The Real Housewives of Potomac, he was married to Giselle. He has made an announcement that we should boycott them indefinitely. This is all still kind of funny to me because I didn't realize people still clung to Target like that. And what I mean is I haven't shopped at Target in 2 years. I really don't have to go there. And the reason why in 2 years is because it's too damn crowded. The parking lot is too full and I don't do well in lines. I'm sorry, but I don't. Sabby does not do well in lines. When Sabby have to stand in line for a long time and line not move, Sabby go put products back and Sabby leave. I don't like it. I'm not good with that. I don't like when there's no spots in the parking lot and people are trying to fight people just to get a spot. I'm not built for that. I will just go home. So it was interesting to me that people, I guess, still were, felt like they really need to go to Target like that, because I don't. Everything that I have purchased at Target, which isn't much, I could always get somewhere else. People are like, where are you going to get your paper towels, your bowls, your all that kind of stuff. I'm like, I get paper towels from the grocery store. A lot of times they're cheaper than what they were at Target. I can go to Family Dollar and get paper towels for $1. Like, there's other places that I can go to. And Target to me basically became an overpriced Walmart. So I don't have that desire to go to Target. So this was still kind of weird to me, but let's go on.
And certainly big ups to you and Unfiltered for getting that message out there. There's a confluence, and there is something to be said about universal thought. When Target made this announcement on January the 24th, as you remember and have been sharing with their audience, on January 25th, We Are Somebody was out there. I get by with a little help from my friends calling on Until Freedom. Tamika Mallory, he's one of the co-founders of Until Freedom, and then, bringing up the pastor. But there were local things happening at the same time, which is beautiful. And to your point about that 200,000 who signed on, but there are millions of people, millions of eyes have been on the various outlets, both social media, your show, and other shows that have lifted this national boycott. The fast was a phase of a larger boycott. And as Pastor Bryant laid out there, answering one of the demands. And let me just say that one demand to spend $2 billion with the Black community from 2020 to now was already there. So that's nothing new, but they did not answer the other demands. And I don't think that the CEO of Target, Brian Cornell, truly understands the pain points that he caused by bending to bigotry. This is bigger than DEI, but DEI is a part of it. What is wrong with having diversity, equity, and inclusion?
So one thing I will push back on there, when Nina says that she doesn't think that the CEO understands. Oh, he definitely understands. He just doesn't care. He doesn't care. Target is a corporation. It's a business. They don't give a damn. All they're trying to do is look. During the George Floyd moment, when Target made that decision, okay, we're going to try to, as a response to George Floyd protests, we're going to try to, implement and ramp up like DEI and all these types of things. This is our promise as a commitment to the Black community. That was Target just meeting the moment at that time. You know how Dr. West says there's a moment, you have a moment in a movement? That was them just meeting that moment. That moment passed. And now we're living in a different moment. We're living in a moment now where Donald Trump won the popular vote. So now Target is trying to meet that moment. You see what I'm saying? This is why you really can't trust these corporations. You can't trust them to do anything for your community. We're only going to be the ones that's able to do that.
In your company DNA and also in the DNA of this country. Folks miss the point that we need DEI and other things. I mean, obviously we need to go deeper than that because there's a wrong that has been happening in this country for generations. So I'm really glad to see this organizing committee to come together. Tamika Mallory, myself, and Pastor Jamal Bryant did have an opportunity on Saturday to talk to one of the representatives of Target, and we've gotten no further than they did when they all had that meeting previously.
See, the thing that that folk have to understand is that when Target talked about the $2 billion, that wasn't, oh, we're going to be spending $2 billion collectively. That was supposed to be annually.
Talk about it, Ro.
So was there a contract signed or anything? Like, I don't understand pleading with Target. I really don't. So long story short, Target lied, as businesses often do. I don't understand the desire to want to work with them. I don't get it. Like, for me, it's just like, oh, okay, you won't meet my demands. I'm out of here. Okay. We have to think about consumer power, right? So businesses continue to thrive if you continue to buy their products. If you're not buying their products, those businesses can have a decline. So why are we trying to work with Target when they made it very clear that they're not consistent and they're not committed to doing what they said they were going to do the first time? Why are we begging? This kind of coincides with the whole working inside the Democratic Party thing. Same thing I said. Why are you begging these people? I feel like, again, we're outside knocking on the door, asking to be invited to a party that we were not invited to. Why are we begging? I say leave Target alone and go support other businesses. I don't get this. I don't get it at all. Like I said, I'm telling you guys, I don't know about you, but I've gone 2 years without shopping at Target. Fuck Target. It's overpriced any damn way.
I mean, that was supposed to be annually. So this idea in terms of what, I mean, this is the corporate statement that they dropped on April 7th, 2021. They said as part of their commitment, let me get this up on the screen 1 second. As part of their commitment, they wanted to add products from more than 500 Black-owned businesses across its multi-category assortment, increase its spend with more Black-owned companies, such as marketing agencies, construction companies, facilities, maintenance, and more. Establish new resources, including the Forward Founders Program to support Black-owned companies and help them grow their business. It's right here.
So look at this, what he just read, you guys. So this was part of the commitment that Target made to the Black community, add products from more than 500 Black owned businesses across yada, yada. So again, why were we counting on that? Look, if there's one thing that I have learned is this, and I think some people are starting to see this too. People need to get their own shit. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. If you go into other communities, you'll see people have their own shit. You'll see that there are Asian Americans that own the beauty supply stores. They got their own shit. You'll see that different groups have their own stuff. A lot of the nail salons here, Vietnamese, have their own stuff. But I feel like it seems like for the Black community, there seems to be this constant push to ask to get somebody else to kind of be the driver of the bus. And I talked about this bus analogy before. You guys have got to drive everybody that's listening. You have to drive your own bus. You cannot be the passenger on your bus. So this commitment that Target made, where it may have sounded great at the time, like I said, people renege on their promises all the time. Where it may have sounded good at the time, we are going to do this for you. In turn, it's almost like the Black community was allowing Target to drive the bus, and we were the passenger on the bus, or all those that were at the table when this agreement was made. So the problem is that we're not driving the bus. When the corner store, the people that own the corner store, in my grandma's neighborhood, Kimmy's and them, Kimmy that owned the corner store, they didn't come ask Black businesses to help them. Can you help me do da-da-da? Are you going to do this? They had their own stuff. No one can take it away from them but them. But when we rely on this commitment that Target made, or any other corporation that makes, and they say, we're going to do this for you, what I'm saying is, no, we can't be asking them to do stuff. We can't rely on it. We can't depend on it. We have to drive our own bus. This is how people get screwed. And I've seen Black businesses, including small Black businesses, I've seen them get run into the ground because of this very reason. Because somewhere off in the corner, some billionaire or some investor said, I'm going to do this for you, and we're going to do da-da-da-da-da. And then the investor pulls back, and then you have nothing to stand on. So no, we cannot continue to do this. Waiting on Target. Why? And I'm going to show you someone who didn't do this. I'm going to show you someone after this who realized a long time ago that you can't rely on these corporations to drive your bus. Let's continue.
Said Target announced a commitment to spend more than $2 billion with Black-owned businesses by the end of 2025. Now, one of the things that they've said to Jamal that they're going to meet this by July. Here's what we haven't seen. Who? We ain't seen a list.
Right.
List of company amount. When they say marketing agencies, I don't know who. Black-owned media, I think Target did. I'll check with my guys. I think Target did something with us like 3 years ago, and it was real small, and we ain't heard from them since. And so the point here is, which is what Dr. King talked about in his April 3rd, 1968 final sermon in Mason Temple, when he said, again, he said, we must, he talked about, the pain. We must redistribute the pain. The bottom line is these companies are making billions off of us, and there's no ROI. They're not spending with Black-owned media. They're not using Black transportation companies, Black law firms, Black accounting firms, Black engineering firms, Black construction companies. And if they think that we just gonna keep sitting here rolling up in your store, they're wrong. And this is also sending a message, and that's the Target, but to a whole bunch of other companies saying, do understand, y'all are next.
That's right. There's
Pause. Yeah, most corporations don't do that. It's not just Target. Let's keep it real. Most of them don't. And I don't know what to say. It's very frustrating to me. The threat of we're not gonna stop there, and they're continuing to ignore. You shouldn't be shopping there, period. I don't get this at all. I don't get it. Maybe I'm just picky. Maybe I don't buy much. I don't know. But my whole thing is this. Collectively, if Black people collectively, especially those who do have the money and resources, all came together, people could say fuck Target. Because once upon a time, there were Black Wall Streets in this country. Yeah, don't forget. Don't forget, there was no let's look at Target. Once upon a time, there were Black Wall Streets in this country. They were all burned down. So what needs to happen is some of the people who do have those resources, and I think you guys know who they are, especially if they came from poor communities, and some of these people chose not to give back to communities. Everybody need to come together and build something. Imagine if Jay-Z, Beyonce, Byron, what's the guy's name? Byron, he's a billionaire, Byron or whatever. You guys knew who I'm talking about. Imagine if all these people, like all like the wealthy Black people, Oprah, even though she drive people crazy, Oprah built a school in Africa. But why not? This is what I don't get this, man. I don't get this at all, because that could not be me. And I look back and I'm like, Byron Allen, thank you. I look back and I'm like, some people, they got wealthy and they pulled the ladder up behind them. Instead of saying, okay, let me come back and we all gonna work. We all gonna put our money together. And this is what we're gonna do. We could have had an alternative to Target that was Black owned by now. You see what I'm saying? And that's why I said you don't see other communities do this. You don't see other groups do this. They tend to look out for each other. So my whole thing is, again, I don't like the begging. I don't like it at all. Long story short, Target lied, but it's not a surprise. It's a corporation. It's a business. They just met the moment at that time. At that time, that was the moment to meet, because the people rose up and said, F the police, power, like free, people were saying justice for George Floyd, etc. That was the moment they were meeting at that time. Now is a different moment, and they trying to meet that one. So they're not consistent. But nobody can sit here and beg, man. You can't beg. We're going a little bit more here, and I'm going to show you someone who got it right a long time ago.
power in our purchase. I mean, people need to hashtag that. It's power in our purchase. And to add to that, Ro, he promised this off of the back of when George Floyd was murdered. It was right when he came out and said George Floyd could have been one of my Target team members, and therefore I'm going to do XYZ. All of the things that you enumerated and put on screen, they said that they were going to expand their diversity goals at the time to increase representation of Black employees across its workforce by 20% over the next year. So that would have been from 2020 to 2021. And that the company would start a new program to help Black entrepreneurs develop, test, and scale their products. They did some of that, but once Donald J. Trump came on the scene, all of those promises made all of a sudden became something that was expendable. And so the question for the CEO is, did you believe those things when you said it? Was it right and moral and also economically viable for Target too? Because they ain't just do this out of the goodness of their heart. When you said those words and now all of a sudden you don't have a commitment. So the ire in the Black community is that you made a promise to us off of the death of George Floyd, and now all of a sudden you have a neo-fascist in the White House and you don't care. You don't really give a damn about the Black community and other marginalized communities. And dare I say, ever since they made that commitment to stand with this president, they have decreased some of the shelf space. There is no guarantee for those Black businesses. And shout out, Ro, to the Black business owners who said on their own, if the Black community is boycotting, we don't want them to purchase none of our stuff out of Target. Come purchase from us directly. That is a beautiful thing. That has to be answered to as well, that we have to continue to support these Black businesses. How do we shore up Black institutions because of this? Because it's Target today. Other companies are folding to the bigotry. The Black community and other marginalized communities remain vulnerable unless we unite in the way that we're doing right now and let them know, to your point, the point I'm making, Tamika, Pastor Bryant, and so many others, you're not going to play us, and that there's power in our purchase. And as my grandma used to say, I can show you better than I can tell you.
But they already did play us. Like when Nina says there, she says, well, did he mean it? No, he didn't mean it. He just did what was popular at that time. Again, if you put the activism part aside for a second, Target is a business. It's a corporation. They're going to do what they feel works for them financially first. The business always comes first. And I just think, like, we can't trust, and that's any community. You cannot trust these corporations coming to you saying, we are going to do this for your community, because at the end of the day, they're always going to try to protect their bottom line. It's a business. At that time, that was the popular move to make because the people rose up. And they feel the popular move to make at this point in time, because Donald Trump won the popular vote, is to go in that direction. So now they feel they're going in the people call it the anti-woke direction, because they feel that's popular now. They're going to do whatever they feel is going to make them money. You can't trust these corporations. You can't trust these businesses. I don't trust them, and I don't believe them. Even when they said that back then, I was just like, okay, whatever. We'll see. We'll go on a little bit more here.
And as we know, these companies are real good at trying to pick off different organizations, try to have separate meetings. And it's important for organizations to know, if there are any Black organizations who are trying to have side meetings with Target, and they are not a part of this boycott, they have not used any of their resources or notified people, if they are not communicating with the leaders of this boycott, we gonna call them out publicly, because what cannot happen is for folk who ain't invested anything in this effort to then go try to break off a few crumbs by negotiating behind the backs of the people who are actually doing the work.
Sadly, though, I wouldn't be surprised if that is happening. I really wouldn't, because at the end of the day, some people are going to look out for themselves, not look out for the greater cause at that point in time, right? I feel like other groups stay together, man. I feel like when it comes to like issues, other groups are like, as a unit, we've decided to do this, but some people are going to look out for their own interests. So what's the answer to this? Here's what we should be doing. And I have that workshop this weekend. The Black Panthers had it right. Like, the Black Panthers knew we can't rely on the government to help our communities. They're trying to poison our communities. We can't rely on the businesses, the corporations. They don't want us to thrive, right? We have to help each other. I want you to see this, and shout out to the gentleman who made this. It's called Mutual Aid is Radical. This is the direction, I said again, guys, that we got to lift up.
Central to their mission was the Free Breakfast Program, aka Breakfast for Children, a grassroots initiative that became a symbol of resistance and community care not only in Oakland, California, but nationwide, providing nutritious meals to thousands of underprivileged children before there was such a thing as reduced lunch across the country. This initiative was more than a charitable endeavor. It wasn't charity at all. It was a radical assertion of the right for people to be fed and to be educated.
So we got to understand here the educational program that you have to be able to figure out whether it will go on the right lines, whether people will end up in a situation where they can be able to really control themselves. You understand what I'm saying? With no education, the people that take this local foundation start stealing money because they won't be really educated to why it's the people's thing anyway. You understand what I'm saying? With no education, you have neo-colonialism instead of colonialism, like you got in Africa 9, like you got in Haiti.
And that people should
pause for a second. I just want to, we got to show Fred Hampton here again for just a second, because I got to say something. Don't forget how young Fred Hampton was at that point in time. And I just look back on this over and over again. And I continue to tell you guys, like, I know we talk about mutual aid and things like that a lot. And I have the mutual aid workshop this Saturday. But the reality is, this kind of used to be a way of life. My parents, when they were growing up, like in the community, people helped each other. Fuck Target. It wasn't even around then. Like, if you needed something, you could get something, right? If you needed a meal, people knew they could go to my grandma's house and get a plate. If you needed someone to watch your kids because you may not get home from work in time, people in the neighborhood had your back. And the biggest issue that we have is the lack of community. And this is the point that I'm trying to drive home. We don't have that now. We don't have it. The community has been replaced by smartphones, social media, and Twitter wars. People are spending more times on their phones than they are out talking to people face to face. People don't know who their next door neighbor is because they always on their damn phone. We don't have that now. There was no social media around when Fred Hampton was around. When they wanted to get a message across, they had to meet with people in the community, and they knew the people. So while social media may have brought some of you together, you've been able to get in touch with people that you may not have seen in years, maybe from high school or whatever. But it's also driven people further apart. Because do you really feel like you need to go hang out with Susie if you can see her whole life on Facebook? What are you going to talk about? You already know what happened. If Fred Hampton were alive today, do you think Fred Hampton would tell you, let's go to Target and meet with them at the table? Fuck no. Fred Hampton would say, let's build our own. It hurts me and it's painful for me to see Roland and Nina in this conversation. I feel like they're begging Target when they have slammed the door in your face. Why are you begging them? We don't need them. And people say, well, how are these people, how are they supposed to sell their products? How are they supposed to sell their businesses? The way we used to do it. There wasn't always a Target. There wasn't always a Costco. You start within the community with your neighbors. You can talk to even some of the rappers, some of the musicians. They started selling tapes out of their car. That's the way it used to be done. But the community has been broken.
Control themselves. You understand what I'm saying? With no education, the people that take this local foundation start stealing money because they won't be really educated to why it's the people's thing anyway. You You understand what I'm saying? With no education, you have neo-colonialism instead of colonialism, like you got in Africa 9, like you got in Haiti.
And that people should continue to assert that right in the face of institutional neglect. Not now, Aang. Under the charismatic leadership of figures like Huey P. Newton and Bobby Seale, the Panthers transformed the mundane act of serving breakfast into a political statement. The program aimed not just to feed hungry mouths, but to expose the failure of a system that perpetuated racial and economic injustice. It became a communal rallying point, not only in Chicago, but across the nation, fostering a sense of collective strength and resilience within marginalized communities.
People aren't hip to that yet. They're not really aware of it. They know some shit's going on in this country somewhere. But a lot of people out there don't know where it's at. They think it's the black people doing it. All those riots are causing my life to be miserable in all areas, you know. And they really haven't focused in on the fact that it's the pigs and their mentors, the people who control the pigs, the power structure, those bald-headed businessmen at the Chamber of Commerce. See? They're not turned on to that power structure. They just know that life is becoming increasingly miserable for everybody. See? But when they find out who it is that's causing the trouble and who it is that's making life miserable, see, then they're all going to be just like the Panthers.
It's
that part right there. Okay. By the way, Bobby Seale, I believe, is still alive today. You heard what he said? When the people find out who's really making their lives miserable, he said they're going to end up being just like the Panthers. There's something to be said about that, about what the Black Panthers built. We talk about the free breakfast program. The kids needed food. They needed to eat. They said, okay, let's help out our community. How do you think you got free breakfast at schools? That came from them. I think that is the way to go to help out your community. And that's what we've been doing over at RBN. And I got to tell you, especially in these times, dire times, I think we're going to see more people go on strike. And when people go on strike, guess what they need? Mutual aid. But I'm so tired of seeing us beg people for a seat at the table. And I remember growing up, I used to think maybe that was the way to go. You got to fight for it. You got to, no. I'm older now. Fuck it. I'm not trying to fight for something unless I know that there is going to be a shining light on the other side of the door. I don't see a shining light on the other side of the door with trying to beg Target, because you're still at their beck and call. And if they change their mind another 2 years from now, you may not have your products on their shelves then either, because they're the ones that are in charge. So as we get older, we learn. And we learn that mutual aid in particular does help and does build communities. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.